There comes a moment in the life of every seeker when the techniques must fall away. You have spent months, perhaps years, studying the law of assumption. You have practiced ads, you have revised your past, and you have carefully curated your mental diet. Yet, if you are still searching for the next secret or the final key to make the law work, you are still operating under a fundamental illusion. You are still treating the law as something outside of yourself that you must master. Neville Goddard's final and most profound lessons were not about how to get things from the world. They were about the total dissolution of the world as something separate from your own being. If you feel that you are standing on the threshold of a deeper understanding, this is the lesson you have been prepared for. It is the transition from being a manifestor to being the promise itself. It is the realization that you are not a human being trying to have a spiritual experience, but the infinite I am dreaming the experience of being human. Today, we will move beyond the basics of getting. We will explore the absolute finality of Neville's vision, that your imagination is not a tool you use, but the very essence of who you are. This is for the spiritually awake who are ready to stop seeking and start being. This is the end of the search and the beginning of true sovereignty. The greatest trap for the spiritually awake is the addiction to the process. You believe that if you just find the right scene, the right feeling, or the right amount of persistence, the universe will finally yield. But the universe has no will of its own to yield to you. It is a mirror, and a mirror does not decide when to reflect. It reflects what is before it. Instantly, when you focus on the technique, you are unconsciously affirming that you do not yet have the state you desire. Neville's final lesson is that the technique is merely a scaffold. It is there to help you reach a state of conviction. But once that conviction is reached, the scaffold must be torn down. If you continue to use the technique as a way to make something happen, you are still living in the world of Caesar, where cause and effect are separate. You are still acting as a beggar at the gates of your own kingdom. To be truly awake is to realize that the only thing to be changed is your self-concept. The manifestation is not a reward for a well-performed technique. It is a natural shadow cast by your state of being. The final lesson is to let go of the how and the when entirely. You must stop trying to manifest, and instead, start being the person who already is. The technique is the training wheel. The awake soul knows how to ride the wind. Most seekers still hold on to a subtle duality. There is me, and then there is the God or universe that fulfills the desires. This is the final barrier to your power. Neville's most provocative teaching is that there is no other. There is no external God to petition, no stars to align, and no karma to balance. There is only the I am within you. This is the radical unity that the spiritually awake must eventually confront. When you say I am, you are not referring to your name, your history, or your body. You are referring to the primary awareness that precedes all things. This awareness is the same awareness that sustains the galaxies. If you feel separate from your desire, it is because you have placed your desire outside of the I am. You have made it a thing to be acquired rather than a state to be occupied. The final lesson is the total collapse of the out there. Everything and everyone you see is a projection of your own consciousness. When you truly grasp this, the fear of failure vanishes. How can you fail to reach a destination if the destination is already within you? You are the dreamer, the dream, and all the characters in it. To be spiritually awake is to stop fighting the characters and start changing the dreamer. Surrender is often misunderstood as giving up or becoming passive. In the Neville Goddard context, surrender is the most active and courageous thing you can do. It is a surrender of the small, egoic self that thinks it knows how the manifestation should come to pass. It is the surrender of the world of facts to the world of truth. When you surrender, you stop checking the mirror of reality for signs of progress. You stop asking, is it here yet? Because you have moved into a state of absolute certainty that transcends the need for physical proof. This is the Sabbath that Neville spoke of, the period of rest that follows the mental act of creation. If you are still working to make it happen, you have not yet entered the Sabbath. Total surrender means you are so satisfied with the internal reality that the external world becomes secondary. You are so filled with the feeling of the wish fulfilled that you no longer look for it out there. This is the paradox of manifestation. It only appears in the physical world when you no longer need it to appear to feel happy or secure. You surrender the need, and in doing so, you claim the reality. The concept of everyone as you pushed out is usually used by beginners to try and change a specific person's behavior. But for the spiritually awake, this lesson goes much deeper. It is the realization that no one has a life independent of your conception of them. People are not obstacles. They are not enemies. And they are not even separate entities with their own free will to reject you. They are puppets on the strings of your assumptions. If you see someone as difficult, they must act out the role of being difficult. If you see them as loving, they must reflect that love. The final lesson here is the total withdrawal of blame and resentment. You can never again point a finger at another person for your circumstances. To do so would be to deny your own divinity. This is the ultimate responsibility and the ultimate freedom. When you change your assumption about a person, they must change. They have no choice. They are part of your dream. The awake soul uses this not to manipulate others, but to bless them. By seeing the best in others, you are seeing the best in your own projection. You realize that the love you feel for another is actually the love of the I am for itself. Neville's later years were focused almost entirely on the promise. While the law is about getting what you want in the world of Caesar, the promise is about the awakening of God within the individual. For the spiritually awake, the law is merely the playground where you learn your power. But the promise is the ultimate goal. The promise is the realization that you are the Christ, that you are the one who has been asleep and is now beginning to stir. It is the series of mystical experiences that Neville described, where you realize your true identity beyond time and space. If you find that things no longer satisfy you as they once did, it is a sign that the promise is beginning to unfold within you. The final lesson is to value the awakening more than the manifestation. The car, the house, and the relationship are temporary shadows. They will eventually fade, but the realization of who you truly are is eternal. When you seek first the kingdom of your own divinity, the promise all, the things of the law are added unto you automatically. You stop chasing the shadows and instead become the light that casts them. Persistence is often taught as doing the technique over and over. But for the master, persistence is a state of being. It is the refusal to be swayed by anything that contradicts your internal decree. It is the ability to walk through a world that says no while you internally shout yes. This is the testing of the heart. The physical world will often provide a delay or a direct contradiction to your assumption. This is not a sign of failure. It is the moment where your mastery is forged. Do you believe your senses, or do you believe your I am? Persistence is the choice to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, regardless of the evidence. To the spiritually awake, persistence is not a struggle. It is a calm, steady focus. You are like a mountain that is unbothered by the clouds passing by. The clouds are the temporary facts of the world. The mountain is your fixed assumption. You do not fight the clouds. You simply wait for them to pass, knowing that the mountain is still there. This unshakable poise is the mark of the final lesson. Neville often spoke of the need to die to the old self. This is the most painful part of the journey because we are so attached to our old stories, our old wounds, and our old identities. We want the new life, but we want to keep the old me. The final lesson is that you cannot have both. You cannot put new wine into old bottles. To truly manifest a new reality, the person who had the old problem must cease to exist. You must literally kill the old identity in your imagination. You must stop talking about the old problems, stop thinking about the old limitations, and stop reacting as the old version of yourself. This is the spiritual suicide that leads to rebirth. This death is a daily process. Every time you catch yourself slipping into an old habit of thought, you must let that thought die. You must be ruthless with your mind. You are not fixing the old man. You are replacing him entirely with the new Manda version of you that is already what you want to be. The spiritually awake soul embraces this death because they know that on the other side is the only life worth living. The final lesson of Neville Goddard is the total assumption of your own sovereignty. You are the king and the priest of your own world. There is no power higher than your own consciousness. When you make a decree in the silence of your soul, it is law. The only reason it doesn't manifest instantly is your own doubt or your own belief in a power outside of yourself. To be sovereign is to stop asking for permission. You don't need the world to tell you it's okay to be wealthy. You don't need a doctor to tell you it's okay to be healthy. You don't need a partner to tell you it's okay to be loved. You decide. You decree. You assume, and the world, like a loyal subject, must obey. This is the final destination. You move from I hope to I am. You realize that the journey was never about learning how to manifest. It was about remembering that you are the creator. You close the books, you stop the videos, and you go within. You realize that everything you ever sought was already yours. The moment you had the desire for it, you are home. You are awake. You are God in human form, playing the most beautiful game of all.